Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of Shared Light. I'm JR.
I'm Dustie.
And, just to recap a little bit, for those of you that may have seen the first episode, may have not seen the first episode, we recently decided to create a podcast. I think we've both come to the mutual understanding that we both have a strong urge to help people. And through a lot of trials and tribulations and a 20-year journey together, we made the decision that this might be our best avenue to help. So, talking last episode, we touched on the idea that, marriage is not a 50-50 proposition. So we want to expand on that a little bit. What do you think? What do you
It's not even a 100 and 100. I think it's a variable. It's a day by day because I have things that I go through different times, different days. You have things that you're dealing with and go through, and it's about what the other needs that day.
right? And I think it took us a really long time to figure that out, right? We've always, and just for all intents and purposes, we've always had a great marriage.
Yeah.
We have had, the typical ups and downs that go through any marriage, but for a majority, we've never had anything that was so detrimental that we thought we
Yeah.
weren't going to get through.
No, I think it's more that we, over the years, we both have a growth mindset. And so it's always not even just our marriage, but anything that we do, our work, our kids, our everything, things that we have, our home, how can we make it better?
Right.
It's kind of our mindset about how we approach everything.
And it's good and bad, I think, because it does sometimes shift the focus from us and our relationship to outside forces, outside circumstances, outside relationships, people, careers, avenues, goals, whatever it may be, right? Which leads us into the idea of that's why a marriage can't. In moments, it might be 50-50, I think. But I would say for the majority of our marriage, I don't think it was 50-50. I
No.
think at times especially through our early years of being married, you took on a brunt of in supporting me. And this was even pre-kids, right?
Right.
I came to know you from stalking you on MySpace, which is for anybody younger than about what,
I don't even want to talk about that.
2000, maybe like 11, I think.
Yeah.
MySpace was the Facebook of the time. Full disclosure, was on house arrest, had gotten in trouble, had only been out of prison we started talking in August of '05,
Yeah.
right? So I had gotten out of prison September of '04.
Mm.
So I hadn't been out very long.
Yeah.
And I was already getting in trouble. Again, we can go into the details of all that later down the road and just kind of how you helped me get through all of that. I mean, when we met, I was a mess. I mean,
You were a mess. You were just headed down a messy path.
and I guess that's a very politically correct way of saying it. I mean, I was a little bit of a mess. I'm not discounting it one bit. I've obviously battled some demons and gone through some things. I'm a better person for it, I think. Some people might not agree, but I think I am.
You are.
But especially those first 2 or 3 years, you really just supported me trying to get better. In moments you carried me, you know what I mean? So it was very much, you were doing 70-80% of the work to keep us going.
Yeah. But I don't feel like it was work. I think for me, it felt more like we talk about each other's light. I saw your light and I knew your light. You did not. So it was more for me guiding you to your light instead of your mindset when we met was the darkness. Does that make sense?
It does. And, obviously you helped me see some things. You really carried us through me trying to go to school. And that's what a marriage is, I think, in my estimation, is you're going to run into those ebb and flows of, I mean, for the first, I would say 5 to 6 years at least, you were carrying most of it because
Yeah.
I was still drinking all the time. I went to work and I did what I needed to do, but I didn't really have any kind of goals, anything that I could attach to outside of, I knew that I loved you. I knew that I wanted to make you happy, and I knew that you were of a different perspective and mindset than anybody I had ever met before. So it helped me find that light, and we've talked about that. And I feel like, again, as we talked about last episode, if you truly value the person that you're married, the person that you're committed to, the person that you have made the commitment to be with for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
it has to be give and take like that.
Yeah. And you even if it doesn't like, for me, it didn't feel like work, like, "I have to work at this every single day." It was just like, that's what you do. You have to put in the work at the end of the day, and sometimes it's a 90% of the work, sometimes it's 10, but even looking back on those times where it's like, yeah, I carried us, but I feel like in the stage that we're in now, like you've carried us recently. And so that's where it's like I needed to carry you at that time because now the last couple years for us, like you've had to carry us more than I have. And so I feel like that's where like I call it the handoff
Right. Right.
because, at the time I didn't know where we were gonna be 20 years later, but I just knew that it was like, this is what we do. We're in this together. You know what I mean? It's not that you were doing all this wrong and I had to, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like a parent, it was more like, I know that's not him. I know that's not what he wants to be doing. I know that's not the person that he wants to be. I think it's just what he knows. He doesn't, you know, done anything different.
Well, and it's not always that, right? So again, I had a pretty good childhood. My parents never did anything to put me on a path that I feel like I went down. It was a choice that I made. And call it circle of friends, call it influences outside of the world, call it whatever you want to call it. Reflecting back now, I can see, and I think that's what I saw in you, is that I can see that I was just longing or for somebody to see that light, for somebody to see something in me that I did not see, could not see, and, flip the script 20 years later, that's what I'm trying to do for you, right? So, a little bit about that backstory is you have been struggling severely with anxiety for the better part of 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
right? Extreme anxiety, extreme fear of all sorts of topics,
Yeah.
right? The kids, me, our marriage, be it what it may be. And in that darkness, you have lost that piece of yourself where it is hard for you to see
Right.
what I see, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about it. The kids went back to school. I dove in real hard into what I was doing at work, trying to, and again, that's where I think it gets challenging with the handoff because on one aspect, I'm trying to be a good husband. I'm trying to make sure that I'm lifting us up and holding us up and doing what I need to do on my end to meet some of the goals that we've had and set and want and looking for me 20 years down the road even further,
Right.
what am I doing today to get there?
Yeah.
It gets hard because sometimes it hyper focuses you so much that you lose track of the moment.
The now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I own that 100%. I see and understand that I do still have to focus on the most important, which is me and you now and the kids now. It can't be always looking 10 steps ahead because of all of the things that I'm missing today.
Right.
So while yes, I'm trying to be that, 80, 90, 70%, whatever I need to be in the moment, it still complicates things a little bit because I need to understand what your needs are, not just what our wants are.
Right.
Because we obviously want the same thing out of life. We obviously
Yeah.
have goals that we've set, but what do you need in the moment? And
Right.
that's where it gets a little bit tricky in marriage, right? Because I'm sure you've been there where it's looking
Yeah.
ahead.
It's hard. I think it's hard for anybody to get to a point in their relationship, their marriage, where you want to meet their needs or make that a priority. Because I feel like with me, I felt for a long time that was like, I couldn't meet your needs. You know what I mean? Because you weren't always upfront with your emotions and your feelings and so I didn't always know what you needed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I had to kind of guess, but I don't always know. and didn't always know, like, what was behind your thought process, or, you were upset about something at work, but I had no clue, and with anxiety, like, automatically that's my fault. Like, I did something, or something's wrong, or,
Right.
so I think it's very important to get to that point in any relationship of, like, and even with our kids, like, meeting their needs in the moment and not always focused on where are we gonna be in 10 years? Where are we gonna be in 20 years? What, like, it's easy with kids, especially, to look at and be like, I want them to be this, and when they grow up, when they're an adult, I want them to act this way and be this person. And you think that you're raising them that way, but are you meeting them where they're at in the moment?
Right.
Are you meeting the needs that they have right now? And I think for us, that was the hardest part for a long time because we didn't have that communication.
And that's the key, right? Is that for you to be successful in anything, especially in marriage, you have to be able to bridge that gap of
Mhm.
communication and have those
Thought
yeah, those are unknown.
Yeah.
You don't know where they're gonna go. You don't know. We don't know what the outcome is gonna be, if it's gonna make things better or worse. But what I've come to find out, and I think you would agree with me, is that even in those darkest moments, having those conversations sheds light on the situation and gives us a point of this is where we go from here,
Right.
which ties into how do you go about having some of those conversations,
Mhm.
right? Because for us, it was extremely difficult for a
It
long
was
time, a long
was
time.
a bumpy road to get there.
Uh, but again, it's that idea that there needs to be a mutual understanding that, like you said, it's us against the problem. It's
Mhm,
not me against you. It's not, I need to fix your anxiety, which was my focus for a long time. It's
mhm,
not, you need to fix my drug addiction. It's not, it is how we meet whatever the situation is together to not necessarily find a solution, because a lot of times you don't find a solution, but to find the best path in navigating it to move forward.
to move forward. Yeah, and I think also the important thing too is you may not always be able to meet that need, but just having someone to verbalize the need or verbalize what you feel in the moment makes a huge difference. You're not able to always fix what's wrong with me in the moment, like whether it be my anxiety, whether whatever. It's not that you need to fix me, it's that my need might be in that moment that I just, like the other day, I just needed you present, physical there, so that that could calm my inner inner demons.
Right.
My inner demon
I,
at the
I
moment.
like to call it the lizard brain.
The lizard brain, he calms, just him being there calms that lizard brain for me. So it's not always you have this big thing that you need to communicate about and this big thing that you need to fix, or it's just about
Mm,
being present and being like, I can't always fix it. And honestly, you may not even understand it. There's a lot of things that still you don't understand about my anxiety,
right.
and that's okay because I sometimes don't either. Like, I don't know why it comes up certain times and whatever, but just being there and being present and being like, she just needs me in the moment, that makes all the difference.
And it's going to be different for every situation, I feel like. But it is about that active part of being present, because I would not know that if I hadn't have stopped at some point and said, no, I need to focus on what we're doing today.
Right.
Um, because if I'm still hyper focused on what I'm doing,
Huge.
to get us to our house in the mountains, what am I missing today? And
That's
that's the biggest issue I think that we've had up until recently, right? Is that I was so hyper focused on what I'm doing that
Mhm.
I did not account for meeting your needs today.
Yeah. And I think that kind of leads into um other things that you have to communicate about, because that also kind of led us into more conversations about, like, you weren't understanding my anxiety because in your mind you're hyper focused on you're doing everything for us, us, us. So why is she having anxiety about it? Like, why is she having anxiety about us, or our marriage, or our future when I'm over here hyper focused on our future. You
Right.
know what I mean? But like that's where the communication comes into play, where you don't always know what your partner is thinking and feeling at all times, and I know that you're always working towards a goal for us and our kids and our future. But the biggest difference is I can feel it now because I'm part of it in the moment.
Right.
It's not just a goal that we're going to someday achieve. And then it's kind of like people think like it's 10 years down the road. We'll achieve it. We'll get there. So forget about it until then. You know what I mean? Like we talk about it, we do things together that we can get to that goal instead of you're just doing your thing and I'm wondering what is he like? What is he
Right.
feeling? What is he, you know?
And that's the biggest key is that, and that's what has changed for us, I think, is that we have had through the difficult conversations and through a lot of the situations that we've been through in the last few months, year, we have established some very clear parameters on what those hard conversations look like. Because it took us a minute to figure out. And the interesting thing about your anxiety is that it causes a lot of the feelings that I had in my darkness, and it
Yes.
stirs up my anxiety. So it gets to a point where we're both fueling that, and we
And
start
each
and we
other.
start talking about things that are non-negotiable,
Mhm.
right? So for us, it was about taking a moment when we're not in that space and understanding that we're going to have this conversation both while we're not in the moment and heat and have all the emotions going. We cannot keep doing this because we're not achieving anything. And I
Just
think
going
that
in circles.
and I think that's what you mean when you say it's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem. I think that's the point where it finally clicked for us that this is not working because we are both trying to prove a point and we're not actually focused on what the problem is. So we worked to and have some very clear guidelines in how we communicate when she's struggling and has anxiety, or I'm struggling with something and have something that's going on that's bothering me. It's about finding what kind of communication works. So for us, it was very clear. I need you to communicate how you're feeling, but it cannot be directed at me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Or it
Uh,
can't be accusatory.
right. Because that automatically throws me into a
Yeah.
spiral of, well, now I've got to defend myself. Now I'm not doing something good enough. So it's that whole process
Yeah.
of now I'm back 20 years ago of I'm not good enough
Right.
for to even just be around, right? I was doing a lot to just go down a very dark road. So, and for you, it's about me not trying to fix the problem because I have a tendency to right away, what am I doing to make the
Yeah.
situation better?
You're a problem solver.
Right.
And you think very logically. And with anxiety, nothing about anxiety is logical. So that's kind of where it started to butt heads. But I think it's very important for anybody in any relationship to set some boundaries about their communication when you need to talk about sensitive topics or know that it's going to be a heated discussion. And I mean, for us, that just looked like we came up with our non negotiables. Non negotiable, like,
Things that we will not drive the conversation to.
right. Because those are the things that just kept making it cycle.
Right.
Like one of them was, you're not leaving, I'm not leaving.
Right.
Like nobody's leaving the relationship. And I think that's a big thing for people nowadays is like a lot of people just when they have those conversations with their partner,
It's really easy.
it's really easy to just go to that.
Yeah. You don't want to be with me. Oh,
Yeah, like this conversation's too difficult or these things are not resolvable. It's they're leaving. I'm leaving, whatever. And for us, it was like that's never the end. That's never going to be an end goal. Like that's never going to be an option for either of us. So that was one of our non-negotiables.
but we cannot
We don't talk about it
we
because
cannot bring that into the conversation at all. It's
it's not
not
productive.
right.
And it
And
just stirs up
it
feelings.
does, and
Yeah,
it leads to a lot of hurt feelings
right.
because now,
For no reason.
yes,
Other than you're feeling some type of way in the moment because it's a heated discussion and you're just throwing things out there. So that was one of our non-negotiables that we
right,
came up with
right,
and I think those kind of boundaries are they're healthy because it allows us to go into a conversation and especially for me with anxiety because the unknown for anxiety is the worst part and what drives a lot of my anxiety And so going into those type of conversations with you, I don't have that unknown. I
Right.
don't have the worry or the anxiety of, is that in his mind when we're having these conversations? Is he thinking this is the last conversation, I'm done, you know? Or so for me that helps me because I know I can go to you with anything, as hard as it may be for me to talk about, or as hard as it may be, I feel like maybe it may hurt your feelings. I can go into it openly and honestly because I know that those boundaries are in place.
But I think that was, one of the other boundaries that we set was it's okay for you to hurt my feelings.
Mhm.
And it's
And vice
okay
versa.
for me to hurt your feelings. Because at the end of the day, we need to get it out
Mm.
so that we can begin to work towards
Yeah.
whatever that solution or resolution or whatever that path is moving forward, which I'm here to tell you, it's not always the funnest conversations that we have. I mean,
No.
some of them are pretty difficult, and that's okay. I feel like at the other side of it,
Mhm.
like I wouldn't change it because it
No,
always we both always feel better. We both always gain that general understanding of where the other one is coming from.
kind of hit these new levels, I think, each time in our marriage and our but I feel like that's a big thing for a lot of people too, is like they don't wanna have those conversations because it's like a bad thing or it could be the end all, or I
Uh,
think people need to realize like that, like we have realized, like it's okay. It's okay that my husband hurts my feelings sometimes. Like I'm okay with that because I respect him and how he feels. And if he's feeling that way in this moment, okay, because I know that we can come to a resolution
right.
at the end of it.
It's real easy to avoid those situations in a marriage because of the unknown, right? You don't
Mhm.
know how the other person's going to react. You don't
Yeah.
know if it's, he or she is thinking like, or has been thinking like, I'm done. And it's scary.
And that's the scary
And
part.
that is scary. But at the end of the day, it's you have to respect the person that you're with enough to be honest and upfront and for them to know that. And I mean, we've talked about it. If it ever came to a point, which is never going to, right?
Mm.
But if it ever came to a point where it wasn't working for either of us, it's we need to be honest about that.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to say that to
Yeah.
each other, but at
It
the end of
hasn't
the day,
always been.
well, but it has you have to be able to have that honesty with the person that you share your life with. Because at the end of the day, we're a team. We are one. At some point, our kids are going to leave us, and it's just me and you, right? It's not me, you, and whoever and whoever and whoever. It's me and you. And why wouldn't you want? Why would I not want you to know how I'm feeling? And I
Mm.
think that for me has been the most eye-opening part, right? Is because for the longest time I did just choke a lot of the stuff down and not discuss a lot of the because it's not what men do, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's not what we're raised to do. It's march forward.
Which is pretty common, I think, here. But on the flip side, for me, that is where it created a lot of unknown,
Right.
and that fuels my anxiety.
So really at the end of the day, it goes back to what we're talking about, right? It's about meeting your needs and you
Mhm.
meeting my needs. And if your needs are to know how I'm feeling, why is that? Why am I gonna not want to do that? Having to deal with the other side of that of the unknown. And it's just gonna create more tension in our relationship. And at the end of the day, it's not gonna be a happy home. And
Yeah.
who wants to come home
Yeah.
and not have a happy
Well, and I feel like too, like who wants to have their partner feeling that way and always guessing every day? Like, do they love me? Are they gonna leave me? Like, how I don't know how they're feeling. Are they mad at me? Are they frustrated with me? Do I make them happy? Or you know what I mean? Like all of that creates unknown. And I would never want you to feel that way. And I think for me, it's just easier to say how I feel um, than it is for you, or was.
Well, and
You
I think some of that also ties into, like, the thing that you talk about with love languages, right? Like, your love language is
Yeah.
completely different than mine.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to understand, to your point, love language or not, you have to be able to meet that person where they are today. So I have to be able to meet you,
Yeah.
like, because you're entitled to feel and want and have those things that you want, just like I am. Like,
Yeah.
I'm entitled to feel how I want to feel. And that for me has been challenging to understand for the longest time
Yeah.
because people are entitled to their feelings. And a lot of the time, it's like it or not, it is very much, that perception, that person's reality,
Yeah.
regardless of what I'm doing. So if your perception is he's not invested, it's no matter how focused I think I am on
Yeah.
this, it's not meeting your needs
Yeah.
because you have a totally different view of it.
Right.
So again, it's one of those things in marriage where you go back to it over and over and over is you have to be able to communicate. You have to be
Yeah.
able to talk to your partner and you should be willing to have tough conversations because it just ends up making the relationship better overall.
Yeah. And I feel like too for you being able to because you've always been kind of closed off emotionally that way. And I think for you it's been what is the word I'm looking for? It's been like a weight a little bit lifted, like refreshing, because now you can just be open, be honest. You can, you don't have to come home with all that in your mind and still try to but I still need to be dad. I still need to be husband. But you have all this internal thoughts and feelings and you know what I mean? So I feel like for you, just to be able to have that space.
I mean, it is. It is something that I don't have to carry alone
Yeah.
all the time. Um, because we talk about my frustrations and some of the things that I'm challenged with, which you know, be it what it may be, it still is something that's always there that I'm dealing with that I don't vocalize to anybody maybe but you. So it's that is ideally what your partner is, right? Is that
Mhm.
person, that sounding board, that
Yeah.
person that you can be open and vulnerable and honest with about how you're feeling or what vulnerabilities you have or what fears you have. So it really is just about communication and it ends up being again that ebb and flow. And in certain moments it's going to be you're taking the weight for both of us.
Yeah.
And you may be, it may be a 70-30 proposition in the moment.
Mhm.
It may be a 60-40. It may be a 90-10. But that's the way it's going to function throughout the marriage for it
Yeah.
to really work, and for it to be successful is I have to be your strength sometimes and you're going to have to be my strength sometimes. So
And it's not something that we keep score of or track of. It's not something that's like, well, last week I held the weight.
right,
So
right.
this week it's more of a day. For me, I think about it, it's just a daily. How's he feeling? How am I feeling? How's the day gonna go? And then the next day, I don't it's gone. Yesterday was gone, whether I carried it, he carried it, doesn't matter. Nobody's thinking about it, keeping score, it's just like you get up and brush your teeth in the morning. It's
Well,
just a
and I think a lot of that ties into the fact that we have finally realized that we're both
yeah,
trying to get to the same place, within our marriage, within, being parents, within my career, within our goals outside of my career, our goals, down the line for retirement, for some of the other ventures that we want to try at some point. We have a mutual understanding that we don't really ever talk about, but we just know, I think, that it very much is, yeah, today I need to pick up the slack because this
yeah.
is where we're headed.
Yeah. And I feel like we're at a point now that sometimes we don't even need to vocalize it. Like I can just see or know, like he's got a lot on his plate today or something's weighing him down, whatever may be going on. We've had a lot going on the last year, but
We have had a lot
I
going on.
can sense, like, okay, this is, I need to do or say or be today. It's not something that we have to have like a meeting every morning and be like, are you going to take 80? And because I only have 20 today. But it's more of you get to a point where you kinda know. Like, I know what's going on in your life, like
Well, and I mean, you're through sheer time together, you're gonna know me better than anybody does anyway,
yeah,
right? But I think even in the beginning, we're still kind of trying to learn who each other were. Where you're still very much, I mean, you more so
same
than
page.
me, but
Y
I feel like you as human beings, we have pretty good insight into when someone's struggling
yeah,
and when somebody has a lot going on, mentally, emotionally, whatever it may be.
yeah,
And the sad part about that is I see it all too often where people just ignore that,
yeah,
especially in a marriage. And you end up having a lot of the marriages where they've been together for 30, 40 years, but again, they're roommates,
yeah.
so they're not.
And then you get one person that kinda carries everything,
Yeah.
and 20 years later, I mean, that person's tired.
Well, then there's resentments
And
and
there's resentment that builds up, and there's, feelings about, "I've had to carry this weight, and I've had no support, no help, no," and I think that's something that we very much have just kind of always known that we don't want,
yeah,
Not saying that it's always been this for 20 years because we had to get to this point, and we did have, our autopilot moments.
absolutely.
But, a lot of that was just, again, you were hyper focused on career and job and school, and I was hyper focused on kids. That was day in, day out. It was just kind of you get to this mutual understanding of, yep, hi, bye, love you, go about your day, come home, go to bed. It was like there weren't those conversations that we have now.
Well, and that we needed to have then.
Yeah,
But again, that ties back into you. You have to learn to be present, and you have to learn to communicate your needs and have those baselines of like I said, for us, it was basically just sitting down one day and saying, okay, we know we need to have these conversations. What are they going to look like? Because we need ground rules moving forward, or this is not going to work.
I feel like it's worked great for us.
Eh, Yeah, I
If anything, I feel like I'm more able to put the weight of my anxiety and the guilt of my anxiety down for a little bit to be able to communicate how I'm feeling or what I'm feeling. Whether it makes sense, whether it doesn't make sense, whether you understand it, whether I understand it, you know, it's there. And I need to address it sometimes and I need to be able to move past it in the moment. And so for me, those boundaries have allowed for me to put that guilt down
well,
so that I can.
and I think for both of us, it really keyed us into actively listening to what the other person is saying,
Yeah.
not just hearing what's coming out and formulating a
Your
response in
own.
the moment and trying to figure out, like for me, how do I fix it? What do I got to do different?
Right.
It's more about listening to understand. And that has been, I think, the biggest difference
Yeah.
I mean, boundaries and everything helped. But I think the underlying thing for me that it helped establish was that it put me into a frame of mind that no, I need to really understand, or at least try to understand how she's feeling, even if I don't understand the situation.
Yeah.
So, and then, we both have our moments where neither one of us can be 80 or 90, and we're both 10, 10. And on those days,
We're
it's,
just trying.
it's, it's, it's fine. Well, and for us, I think it's fine to just, we're not going to touch it today.
Yeah. Just put it down.
Yeah. We're just going to go ahead
Yeah.
and
We might need to pick it up tomorrow or
we're,
the
we're,
next
we're going
day.
to go ahead and veg out or no. And again, it's that clear communication of like, today's not a good day to have that kind of conversation, or
Hmm.
I'm having a bad day. Luckily, we don't have a lot of those anymore,
Yeah.
um, but it is okay to communicate honestly that way too of, hey, today is not, I don't have it in me, I know you don't have it in you, we just need to try and make it through the day, and let's refocus
And I
tomorrow.
think those are the days too that we really just focus on. Even if we can't address anything or talk about anything, for me anyway, I just focus on your light. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
And that's me always, is I know who you are as a person, I know how your light
Yeah.
guides my light and inspires my light. So I may not be able to deal with everything going on in my world in the
Right.
moment, but know that whether it be in just in this moment or if it's, a day from right now, that will still be there and we're still going to move forward and we've still got the same
Right.
goal at the end of the day. So, anyways, we appreciate you guys listening to our conversation. Again, I think the goal for all of these is going to have a weekly reflection. For me, it is going to be our workout this morning. So, you know that I enjoy and always love when you come out to the gym and work out with me. But one thing you may not know and why I enjoy it so much is because in those moments of just sheer, you're about to fail a rep or whatever it may be, once you get it up and once you get it completed, your light shines through and there's this pride in yourself that is infectious. It's that inner belief of I just did this that gets lost for you sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's just another example for me. Yeah, this is why you're in my inspiration because I see that
Yeah.
pride and glow and happiness that you completed something that you thought was extremely hard. That's it for me. What you got?
Probably mine would be, and you probably don't know this either, but I mean, you know that you're doing school and you have a lot of homework and you're writing a lot of papers and you're very focused on that, which you should be, but you include me in that. I know that you think like, oh, I need the help, so I need her to like read this and proofread it and think it's okay. But like for me, it's important and it makes me feel good because it's like, it's not something that you're hyper focused on, but like you're gonna have to wait. Like, I need to get this done, you know what I mean? Like, it includes me. And I know it helps you, but, like, it really makes me feel good to be included in that.
So with that, we wish you guys all I hope you guys all have a blessed week and keep pushing forward and keep having those tough conversations. You'll find that um good or bad, the result generally ends up okay. So
May even help you grow.
and that's the goal, right? Is what are you doing to be better today for tomorrow? So, you guys enjoy your week.